Home Affairs Minister issues warning to police ranks on vehicle tint regulations. Honorable Wanaj Walrond, Minister of Home Affairs, has issued a stern warning to all police ranks regarding compliance with regulations concerning window tinting on personal vehicles. In a recent announcement, Walrond stated that any police rank with window tint that does not meet regulatory standards, or who lacks a valid tint permit must remove the tint immediately. She emphasized that no tinted windows should be reinstalled unless an approved tint permit is formally applied for and granted. This directive is clear. The law applies to everyone equally, Walrond asserted. Those empowered to enforce the law must be the first to uphold it. The minister stressed that failure to comply with these regulations will result in disciplinary action for the violators, with no exceptions. This move underscores the government's commitment to ensuring accountability and adherence to the law among all members of the police force. Four injured in late-night accident on Berbice River Bridge Access Road. A late-night accident on Monday, November 24th, has left 4 individuals injured on the Berbice River Bridge Access Road. The collision involved a motor car, PJ 1625, carrying a 57-year-old driver from Martin Luther Housing Scheme, New Amsterdam, along with 3 passengers, a 30-year-old woman and a 7-year-old student from Islington Village, East Bank, Berbice, as well as a 66-year-old visitor from South Ozone Park, New York. Initial reports indicate that the vehicle was traveling east at a high speed when the driver lost control and collided with a culvert on the southern side of the road. Public-spirited citizens and emergency medical personnel responded swiftly, transporting the victims to New Amsterdam Public Hospital. 3 of the injured were admitted for fractures and other injuries, while the 30-year-old woman is being treated for soft tissue injuries. The incident has deeply affected the local community, highlighting the human cost of road accidents, especially with the involvement of both residents and an overseas visitor. The vehicle involved in the crash has been impounded, and Regional Division No. 6 police are conducting an investigation into the circumstances surrounding the accident. Family traumatized after armed robbery in Corriverton. A market vendor and her family have been left in a state of shock following a harrowing armed robbery at their home on Monday night. Siwadi Sicharn reported that 2 men, one masked and the other unmasked, stormed their residence around 6:50 p.m., holding her disabled children at gunpoint and escaping with over $700,000 in cash. Siwadi recounted the terrifying experience, which began as she relaxed in a hammock with her family. Initially dismissing a strange sound as nothing, her evening took a dark turn when she heard a chilling command, "Nobody is to holler." Upon looking up, she saw the 2 armed men standing inside her home. The masked assailant confronted her disabled son on the lower floor while demanding money from Siwadi. Although she initially insisted she had none, the threat to her family's safety compelled her to comply. She handed over $300,000, savings from her sales at the Rose Hall Market. The robbers insisted on more, pushing her to retrieve additional cash, ultimately totaling over $700,000. This amount included funds earmarked for installments on 2 vehicles she owns. After the bandits escaped through the back door, Siwadi rushed to check on her children, only to find her 24-year-old disabled daughter severely injured and bleeding. "When my son turned on the light, I saw my daughter's face covered in blood, and I began to scream," she said, devastated by the harm inflicted on her family. This incident marks the 2nd time the family has been victimized by robbers. Siwadi expressed her frustration, stating, "It really hard. We have been robbed twice now. All the money we had, we gave them. I do business and can't turn over any profit. Every day I work so hard." Police are currently investigating the incident, but the traumatic experience has left the family feeling vulnerable and fearful. Arrest made in fatal hit-and-run incident on East Coast Demerara. Police have arrested 55-year-old Ganesh Raktu nearly a month after a hit-and-run incident that resulted in the death of 43-year-old Charan Suresh. Raktu, who resides at Lot 365 Enmore, was taken into custody on November 24th in connection with the fatal accident that occurred on October 25th. The incident took place around 5:50 p.m. on the Enmore Access Road. Investigations revealed that Suresh was standing on the eastern side of the roadway when he was struck by a northbound minibus. Following the collision, the driver fled the scene without providing assistance. Suresh was first treated at the Enmore Regional Hospital before being transferred to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation for further care. Despite medical attention, he succumbed to his injuries. In the weeks following the accident, police launched a public appeal for information regarding the driver, providing details about Raktu and urging anyone with knowledge of his whereabouts to come forward. This appeal remained active until his arrest nearly 4 weeks later. Authorities are continuing their investigation into the circumstances surrounding the collision, and Raktu is facing charges of causing death by dangerous driving. Further updates are expected as the case progresses. Fatal brawl in Mahaica leaves 1 dead. A violent altercation on Monday evening in Supply, Mahaica, has resulted in the death of 36-year-old Ray Shiraj, also known as Redman. Police reports indicate that the incident occurred around 11 p.m. at Shiraj's home, where he was gathered with several others. An argument erupted between Shiraj and a male relative who also resides in the same yard. During this dispute, the suspect allegedly inflicted a serious injury to Shiraj's left leg using a sharp object. Following the attack, Shiraj tried to control the bleeding, but ultimately collapsed on the upper floor of his home. He was rushed to Enmore Regional Hospital, where he was pronounced dead upon arrival. Detectives investigating the case recovered a cutlass and a chopper suspected to have been used in the incident at the scene. However, the 62-year-old suspect fled shortly after the altercation, and police are actively pursuing him. 2 other men who were present during the brawl have been taken into custody for questioning. Additionally, a female relative who sustained a minor injury in the incident received treatment and has since been discharged. Investigations are ongoing as authorities work to gather further details about the circumstances surrounding this tragic event. Mother calls for justice following son's death after alleged assault. A mother in Berbice is demanding justice after her 9-year-old son, Lovin Collins, died 10 days after allegedly being assaulted by his 15-year-old cousin. Loretta Collins shared her heartbreaking story with the newsroom, recounting the tragic events that led to her son's untimely death. On November 12th, Lovin was riding his bicycle to visit his aunt in Kildonan Village when he was reportedly attacked by his cousin. A video circulating online shows the young girl physically confronting him. After the incident, Lovin returned home and described what had happened, revealing a history of previous altercations between him and his cousin. Concerned for her son's well-being, Loretta took Lovin to the Port Morant Public Hospital for treatment. As his pain persisted, he was subsequently admitted to the New Amsterdam Public Hospital, where he was placed in the intensive care unit. Unfortunately, his condition worsened, and he began vomiting blood. Tragically, Lovin passed away on November 22nd. Honestly, when people lashed him, he didn't retaliate, Loretta recalled, highlighting her son's gentle nature. A post-mortem examination confirmed that his death was due to shock and hemorrhage caused by a ruptured spleen. Loretta expressed her fears for her remaining 2 children, stating, "I need justice. I feel scared to send my children out to shop or play because she is not a good person to be around." She also recalled a concerning interaction her son had with the suspect, where she reportedly told him he would get what his brother got. Lovin was always eager to help, Even if he said he wasn't going to, she added, mourning the loss of her son. The authorities are currently investigating the incident, as Loretta continues to seek accountability for her son's death amidst deepening grief. Violence erupts at Corriverton Comprehensive High School, 2 students hospitalized. Big Smith News Watch reports 2 16-year-old schoolboys were hospitalized following a violent altercation at Corriverton Comprehensive High School, CCHS, on Monday afternoon, prompting police intervention to restore order. The incident reportedly began shortly after 2 p.m. when a student from J.C. Chandising Secondary School entered the CCHS compound and allegedly launched an unprovoked attack on a student from CCHS, who was in uniform but had not attended classes earlier that day. The situation escalated as the J.C. Chandising student directed his aggression toward other students on the premises. Despite attempts by teachers and security personnel to intervene, their efforts to control the situation were unsuccessful. The Guyana police force was called to the scene. Video footage shows the J.C. Chandising student breaking free from police officers and continuing to assault other students before he was ultimately restrained. Sources suggest that the altercation may have originated from a long-standing grievance between the boys. However, this has not been officially confirmed. Both injured teenagers were later released into the custody of their parents and taken to the New Amsterdam Hospital, where they received treatment for head injuries and other wounds sustained during the altercation. Authorities are continuing their investigation into the incident to gather further details and assess the situation. Nicholas da Silva sentenced to 15 years for murder of Mark Frank. Big Smith News Watch reports 21-year-old Nicholas da Silva, also known as Terror, has been sentenced to 15 years imprisonment after pleading guilty to the murder of 39-year-old Mark Frank, which occurred in 2022. The sentencing took place in the High Court in Demerara before Acting Justice Navindra Singh. Da Silva, who was represented by defense counsel Madan Kissoon, entered his plea after an agreed statement of facts was presented. The state was represented by prosecutors Christopher Belfield, Simran Gujraj, and Geneva Wills. The incident unfolded around 7 a.m. on November 25, 2022, in Riverview. The court heard that Da Silva and Frank, a resident of La Penitence, were involved in a heated argument on a cross street. Following the confrontation, Frank walked away to a nearby shop but was later confronted again by Da Silva. As Frank returned, Da Silva produced a Rambo knife and stabbed him in the neck, causing him to collapse and die at the scene. After the attack, Da Silva reportedly wiped the knife clean and returned it to its sheath before making his way toward a nearby sea dam. In a caution statement, he admitted to pulling out the knife and stating, "Fired a juke," at Frank, attributing the incident to a long-standing dispute between them. A post-mortem examination confirmed that Frank's death was due to hemorrhage and shock caused by the stab wound. During sentencing, Justice Singh initially set a starting sentence of 35 years. Adjustments were made based on Da Silva's early guilty plea, expressions of remorse, and positive conduct in prison. However, years were also added to the sentence to account for the emotional suffering inflicted on Frank's family. Ultimately, the court imposed a final sentence of 15 years, with time spent on remand to be deducted from this term. Mother demands justice after son's tragic death at GPHC. Corriverton News reports a young mother from Mahaica, East Coast Demerara, is seeking justice following the death of her 17-month-old son, DeAndre Prashad. She alleges that doctors at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC, wrongfully removed both kidneys during a surgery intended to remove only one. 18-year-old Shania Allen, devastated by the loss, accuses the hospital of malpractice and negligence. DeAndre was admitted in July for a malfunctioning left kidney, which doctors advised removing to protect the right kidney. After surgery on July 21st, Alan claims she learned that both kidneys had been removed unexpectedly. Throughout her pregnancy, DeAndre's kidney condition was monitored, and a CT scan indicated he had 2 functioning kidneys. However, following the surgery, she noticed significant changes and complications in her son's health, which she raised with hospital staff, but to no avail. Alan states that after the surgery, the doctors informed the family about complications involving conjoined kidneys, which were supposedly undetected in prior scans. She argues that they should have communicated any significant changes during the procedure. Following his surgery, DeAndre was put on dialysis. Over the next few months, his condition worsened despite the family's efforts to communicate with medical staff. When his situation deteriorated further, the family pursued meetings with hospital officials, receiving little clarity or support. Tragically, on September 22nd, DeAndre passed away. Alan is now calling for accountability and plans to take legal action against GPHC. In a public letter, the family expressed their grief and alleged negligence in DeAndre's care. GPHC has acknowledged the family's concerns and stated that the case is under comprehensive review to assess the situation and prevent future complications. Motorcyclist in critical condition after collision with tractor. Ignite News reports, a motorcyclist is currently in critical condition following a collision with a tractor on Monday evening. The incident occurred around 6:15 p.m. at Lima Sands, where Ray Bajkran reportedly struck the tractor's cage wheel and was found unconscious at the scene. Emergency responders quickly transported Bajkran to Lima Sands Regional Hospital, where medical staff are working diligently to stabilize his condition. The circumstances surrounding the collision are still under investigation as authorities seek to determine the details leading up to the accident. Further updates will be provided as more information becomes available. 285 total views, 7 views today. Facebook, Twitter threads, Reddit, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, Telegram, share post, navigation. Nicholas da Silva sentenced to 15 years for murder of Mark Frank. World News. Navy sailor dies after rescuing children in Hawaii. Other news. Security guard stabbed to death after allegedly abusing female colleague and slapping teen guard. Guyana Learning Channel. Producer wanted. Trevor Ben voices support for APNU and Aubrey C. Norton for President of Guyana. Heavy-duty trucks responsible for 40% of road fatalities. Mandatory speed governors proposed. Heavy-duty trucks have been implicated in nearly 40% of road fatalities over the past 5 years, prompting authorities to consider mandatory speed governors for these vehicles. Earl Lambert, chairman of the Guyana National Road Safety Council, highlighted alarming statistics during a recent episode of Road Safety and You. From 2019 to 2024, trucks accounted for 38 to 40% of fatal crashes, surpassing all other vehicle categories. In 2023, there were 30 truck accidents, followed by 25 in 2024, many involving severe collisions due to excessive speeding on major highways. Lambert stressed the urgency of addressing this road safety crisis, citing a strong link between speeding, poor road conditions, and fatal outcomes. The government is pushing for an auto-control speed management system, which would introduce tamper-resistant speed governors to regulate truck speeds according to the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Act, 50 km per hour in urban areas and 80 to 100 km per hour on rural roads, depending on capacity. This system will feature GPS monitoring, geofencing, and real-time alerts for tampering, allowing for continuous oversight of truck speed and movement. Lambert described this technology-driven initiative as a vital step toward modernizing road governance and improving safety. With truck-related crashes being a leading cause of road fatalities, the introduction of speed governors is seen as a necessary measure to protect citizens. VPAC calls for urgent action on road safety in Guyana. The Vigilant Political Action Committee, VPAC, has raised alarms about the deteriorating safety conditions on the country's roads, labeling them as death traps. In light of rising concerns over traffic accidents and fatalities, VPAC is advocating for the immediate implementation of a mandatory defensive driving and road safety certification program for all commercial drivers, including minibus operators and truck drivers. VPAC's proposal insists that no commercial driver should be allowed to operate a vehicle without proof of completing at least a 5-hour defensive driving and safety course. Those unable to provide such certification should face immediate suspension of their licenses until compliance is achieved. This initiative, they argue, could start to save lives right away. Additionally, VPAC is urging the government to establish a transparent and accountable licensing system, condemning the alleged sale of licenses. When you sell someone a license, you are licensing that person to kill, the committee stated, emphasizing the dangers of permitting untrained and unqualified drivers on the roads. The committee highlighted the trust parents place in minibus drivers for the safe transport of their children and expressed concern that this trust is undermined when unqualified individuals are permitted to drive. Guyana must not wait for more deaths before acting, VPAC warned, affirming that road safety reforms should prioritize the protection of citizens. The loss of life on the roads is deemed unacceptable, and VPAC insists that immediate action is needed to restore public confidence and enhance safety. Health Minister addresses midwifery graduates on maternal health. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony emphasized the importance of midwives in preventing maternal deaths during the graduation ceremony for the latest batch of midwives from the midwifery training program held at Pegasus Suites on Wednesday. No mother should die because they are giving birth, Dr. Anthony stated, reinforcing the need for proper practices to eliminate maternal mortality in Guyana. He urged graduates to focus on antenatal care, early detection of high-risk pregnancies, and prevention of mother-to-child transmission of HIV. Additional guidance on breastfeeding, complementary feeding, and vaccination was also highlighted. Addressing those assigned to work in interior regions, he said, "We want to work to eliminate maternal mortality. While we have made progress, we still need to improve our current numbers." Dr. Anthony noted the government's initiative to introduce waiting homes near interior hospitals, a move that has significantly reduced maternal complications by allowing expectant mothers to be close to clinical support during labor. The Health Education Officer of Health Sciences Education praised the government's ongoing investment in midwifery education as a critical element of national health development. She underscored the importance of continuously recruiting health professionals, including midwives, and the provision of full government scholarships to build a competent workforce capable of meeting the needs of women, children, and families. Collaboration among public, private, and regional institutions was also emphasized, ensuring that graduates are well prepared for real-world challenges in healthcare delivery. Vishnu Pandey criticizes government for Guyana mismanagement. Vishnu Pandey, Member of Parliament for the Win Party and former executive manager of the Guyana Sugar Corporation, Guyana, has strongly criticized the government for what he describes as ongoing mismanagement of the sugar industry. He is demanding transparency regarding the financial allocations to Guyana and how the funds have been utilized. In a letter to the press, Pandey expressed frustration over unrealistic production targets set by the government, particularly in light of adverse weather conditions. He referred to a directive from the president for Guyana to produce 100,000 tons of sugar in 1 year, despite the company's budget allocation for only 73,000 tons. This ambitious target came during a prolonged drought that began in 2023 and lasted until April of the following year. Pandey further alleged that a selected contractor was paid $21 million upfront to import seed cane materials from Brazil, but only $5 million worth of materials were received, much of which was disease-ridden and planted at Rose Hall Estate. He asserted that political interference continues to hinder the progress of the sugar industry, citing the decline in sugar production from 88,000 tons in 2020 to just 47,000 tons in 2022 under the CEO, a political appointee. He noted some improvement in 2023, with production reaching 60,000 tons, a figure he claims was achieved during his tenure as agriculture director, rather than through government interventions. Pandey also criticized the government's expenditure on consultants from India and Cuba over the past 2 years, claiming that these investments have yielded no tangible results. Regarding the reopening of the Rose Hall Estate, he described it as a sham, revealing that only half of the estate's original 6,000 hectares are currently in cultivation since its reopening. He challenged the government's claims of investing over $50 billion into the sugar industry since taking office, questioning where the funds have gone and demanding accountability for the billions owed to various entities, including the Guyana Power and Light, GPL, Guyana Water Incorporated, GWI, National Insurance Scheme, NIS, Guyana Revenue Authority, GRA, unions, and numerous local and overseas suppliers. The president must provide details on financial accountability and explain how these debts have accumulated, Pandey stated. Goldfield crisis. Workers' safety at risk as voices go unheard, Mr. Sharma Solomon MP. A recent incident at Zijin Mining's Aurora Goldfield has brought the precarious conditions faced by workers in the gold mining sector into sharp focus. A visibly frustrated worker confronted management over the lack of essential underground safety equipment, highlighting a deeper, systemic issue of neglect and exploitation in the industry. For years, workers at this and other mining sites have raised alarms about unsafe tunnels, insufficient protective gear, and chronic health problems underground. Reports of workers collapsing, bleeding from their ears and noses, and sharing safety gear between shifts underscore a troubling level of negligence. The Health and Safety at Work regulations mandate essential personal protective equipment, PPE, and safe work practices, along with penalties for non-compliance. However, many workers continue to face perilous conditions as the burgeoning profitability of the sector, particularly evident in recent reports from the Minister of Finance, fails to translate into safer working environments or fair compensation. Historically, Guyana Goldfields has been criticized for poor labor practices and a lack of adherence to occupational safety standards. In the past year, the extractive sector has seen increasing visibility regarding unsafe working conditions and unregulated subcontracting, leading to ongoing accidents across various operations, including gold mining, bauxite, and quarrying. This neglect has been exacerbated by the inadequate response from the government, which has often reacted only after incidents draw public outrage or are exposed through social media. The lack of strong oversight leaves workers feeling desperate and vulnerable. Sharma Solomon, Member of Parliament, emphasized the need for a turning point in protecting workers' rights. The safety, dignity, and rights of Guyanese workers cannot be negotiable, he stated. The extractive sector is one of our country's most profitable industries and must not operate as a lawless entity. A thorough investigation involving the Ministry of Labor, occupational safety experts, and a parliamentary oversight committee is essential to address these pressing concerns. Solomon called for the establishment of a national extractive workers protection framework that includes safe reporting mechanisms, whistleblower protection, and ongoing medical monitoring for underground workers. Workers in the mining sector form the backbone of a multi-billion-dollar industry and deserve more than reactive promises, he asserted. They are valued stakeholders and are owed better representation in the pursuit of safe and dignified working conditions.